Hey guys, this is Dr. Celaya here. I get asked so many questions about food and especially meats. And tell me a little bit more about the labeling and what it means and what's organic and what's free range and what's really healthy. So let's take a look at a couple of different products here. And the first one we want to take a look at is Foster Farms Organic Turkey. And it says certified organic free range. And so organic is simple to understand because you have to abide by FDA standards. And usually if you see this label over here, you can see USDA organic, and they've come up with the definitions, which is great. So you can take a look at their website as well, and they have got a lot of great information on organic and about organic certifications. And one of them I like here is organic labeling. So there's all kinds of different lists about what's prohibited substances, etc. So you can really get a good understanding of what they mean by organic. So we have accredited certifying agents, and their whole job is to make sure that different vendors that produce foods are following USDA standards, especially if they're using labels like what we saw here, USDA organic. And so there's different vendors, and a couple of them are this one here. It's CCOF, and the one we're going to be looking at here in a minute is Quality Assurance International. And basically they're accredited agencies that help enforce the standards set by the FDA. So let's go back to this. So we have organic. We know that it's USDA organic, which is great. We have certified organic, and it's pretty much here, and it's also by Quality Assurance International, like I mentioned earlier. It's a certifying organization that's accredited by the US FDA. And also we see here free range. Now, I'm not quite sure what this means. Free range could mean something different to different people. So, for example, is this free range? Because this is what I think of when I'm thinking free range. But you know what? I guess it could be this too, right? If they're not in cages, is it free range? So with this, I called Foster Farms. And I'm going to tell you what, I've called a lot of companies here that produce the foods. And I got to tell you, they're really, really helpful. One of the gals here I talked to on the turkey hotline, yeah, there's a turkey hotline, named Virginia, who's just spectacular. If she doesn't know it, she goes way out of her way to find the answers. And she's gotten back and forth to me here, on an occasion to help answer some questions. She's now looking into what the free range means, right? Because I want to make sure that it's this and not this. So let's take a look a little further. So here we have ground turkey with natural flavorings. I don't know if you've looked at a prior video that I did, but I'm a little concerned with natural flavoring. It usually means somebody's trying to hide something. And when you look at this label, I can't find it anywhere. So Virginia cleared that up for me. It is rosemary extract. I think that's what she said, which is great. It's the flavoring. And hopefully it is just rosemary extract. But Foster Farms is a pretty big company. I would think that they would want to make sure that they're being true in their labeling. Otherwise, that could add into a real big problem for them. So always fresh, never frozen. That's fine. Raised on organic vegetarian feed. And what she said is they're raised on organic corn and soy. And so I'm a little curious about the organic vegetarian feed, and we have here free range. So is it looking more like this, or are they out there foraging on a true free range where they're basically fed what they forage? I'm not sure. I guess we're going to find out here. Maybe by the end of this video, I can clear it up for you. So let's come down here. No added antibiotics, hormones, or steroids used in turkey. I thought this wording was a little bit interesting, and we have little notations here under hormones and steroids. So let's go look for that symbol anywhere. There it is. Federal regulations prohibit the use of hormones or steroids in poultry. So no matter what, they couldn't do this anyway, but they tried to capitalize on it, and a lot of companies do. It's not just them. I don't know if it's marketing or it's the lack of knowledge from most people, but it's something that's good to know. And I also saw here, no added antibiotics. I'm not quite sure. I asked them what this means, no added antibiotics. So does this mean that maybe they're getting antibiotics in their water source? I'm not quite sure, but they don't add antibiotics to the bird themselves or to the feed. And so it's kind of an interesting scenario here. I don't know what happens when they get sick. right? I mean, I don't want antibiotics in my food, but yet on the other hand, I want to make sure that my animal, if I'm consuming it, is raised right and properly. So, but they said they don't use antibiotics. In addition to, you start looking here, used in turkey. And it's interesting here because the wording's a little interesting. So Virginia told me that the hormones, each bird has its own hormones that are specific to it, that it has naturally. And so they have to put used in turkey as a stipulation saying that they don't add hormones to that turkey. It has what it has, and it has what it has naturally, which is great. So my assessment of this, I like this product. Do I wish it was more free range and not fed soy and corn? Absolutely. Is it as bad as the other ones? Absolutely not. I think Foster Farms is trying to make a difference here, but they're a big farm. They produce a lot of food. And so I imagine to do this with huge numbers of birds may be a little bit more difficult. I don't know. I'm not a poultry farmer, but I think they're on their right step, right? They're getting there. Let's take a look at the next one. All right, I was at the store last night and I saw this. This is at a local store here, and they produce, and this is their label, Simple Truth Organic. And it says, raised on certified organic pastures. Well, I'm not quite sure I know what that means, and maybe we'll see some on the other side, okay, as far as what that means. Grass-fed, organic beef ribeye steak. So it is USDA organic, so we have a great definition to start with. Non-genetically engineered. So if we look, this beef is used, the beef used in this product is fed a diet that contains non-genetically engineered ingredients, which is great because corn and soy are the #1 GMO products out there. And it's not just the GMO problem that we're concerned with. It's if it is GMO, they're able to spray Roundup on those products up to a week prior to them harvesting the grain. And you feed it to our cows, and can you imagine how many acres of grain it takes to make 1 pound of meat? It's quite high. So I'm very curious about the glyphosate contents in our food. And, if you look at the World Health Organization, they say that it is a carcinogen. And if you look at California standards, they say that it is a probable carcinogen. And they don't even label it as a carcinogen because it only is probable. Like I mentioned in other videos, I'm a little concerned when you say probable. I want to make sure that even if it's probable, I want to know. But anyway, I guess that's another talk here. So, so far, so good. And let's take a look here at the back of this. So, organic regulations prohibit the use of genetically engineered feed ingredients, which is wonderful. So let's take a look at the back. We have organic beef distributed by Kroger, certified organic by CCOF Certification Services. That's one of those ones that we showed you here before. And this certifying agency certifies for the FDA. They're one of the accredited certification companies. But in addition to that, they have pasture rule standards as well. Now, I'm not sure if this here, if we look at this meat, I'm not sure if this is certified organic pastures is by the same company. I don't know. It's one of those things I called and you get a machine and that's the end of that. So let's take a look at the certification, the CCOF, as far as what they say for pasture rule highlights. So animals must receive 30% of their DMI, and DMI, we come up through here. Where did that go? Dry matter intake from pasture during the grazing season. All right, 30%. Well, it's better than nothing. It's not what I'd like to see. All right. The grazing season must be a minimum of 120 days per year, but up to 365 days. So anywhere in between. Perfect? No. Better than other standards? Perhaps. There are specific limitations on confinement, which I think for me is an important thing. I want to make sure that animal is healthy and happy, as happy as it can be, and not jammed in cages right next to each other, or even, what are we talking about? here, they may not be jammed in cages, but I don't know how darn healthy they are, number one. And number two, disease can spread pretty crazily when they're packed in this tight. Like I said, I'm not a poultry farmer. I'm not going to even pretend to know what those guys go through. I don't. I'm just making assumptions. So calves must be provided access to pasture at 6 months of age. Yeah, I wish that were a little sooner as well. This one's good. Roughages used as bedding must be organic, which that's great. Most people wouldn't even thought of that, but I think it's a good thing. And slaughter stock are exempt from DMI requirements during a finishing period. And that's the big problem with a lot of these grass-feds is that they take them, and you don't know how much of the product is grass-fed. Like I said, it could be 30%. And what are they fed other times? So they finish them a lot of the time with grain to help change the omega-3 and omega-6 content. For a food to taste good, you almost want to have more omega-6. But the omega-6 content is inflammatory. Having that animal graze on grass changes everything. And one of the things that it does do is it gives us more omega-3 content, which is healthier for us. The omega-6, maybe not so much. So at least this company is having standards set by what pasture raised means. And so I'm happy with that. I think it's in the right path. We're going in the right direction. And so they are grass-fed, so I'm assuming that's, 30%. Who knows? So far, the labeling I'm seeing is pretty good. So it's natural lamb. And unfortunately, I didn't take a picture of the whole thing, but I'm a little concerned about just natural. And I'm sure there's a little area here that we have this little stipulation. It's somewhere in the product. I didn't get it. But it says no antibiotics ever, no added hormones, and it may be that place where you can't use them anyway. So we come to the back portion of that product, and there's not a lot of information. It's just your nutritional facts. There are safe handling descriptions. Born, raised, and harvested in the U.S. of A. With lamb, I'm not sure that's such a good thing because it's more of I don't want to say engineered food, but it's something that, we've made it taste better than the New Zealand type, at least in my opinion. But it comes at a cost, right? You're getting more omega-6 content. You're getting more marbling. It tastes different. In fact, I don't know if you've tasted New Zealand lamb compared to U.S. lamb. The U.S. lamb, in my opinion, tastes better. It doesn't taste as gamey, but the game is what gives you the health. So I would anticipate, and I don't know how they grow their stuff in New Zealand, but it's probably a little bit healthier for you. My mistake, if somebody has any more information on this, I'd like to know more, and I'll amend this video. All right, so next we look at Sun-Fed Ranch. So far, they start off with a USDA organic label. And they say organic, 100% grass-fed beef. I like that already. It starts off great. Raised with no hormones or antibiotics. Added on American Family Ranches. Now, I wasn't quite sure what American Family Ranches is, right? Is that a company? I looked it up and I couldn't find anything under that name. So I'm assuming that they're talking about family ranches in America. I might be wrong and maybe I just didn't see it. So let's look at the rest of the labeling here. Born and raised and harvested in the USA. Okay. So far, so good. Now let's look at the back. Here again, I love this up front here. It says 100% grass-fed and grass-finished. This is the important part because a lot of these companies grain finish. And like I said, it increases that omega-6 content. It makes it taste better. It makes you want to eat more. But then again, I don't necessarily want it. It's a little bit harder here to see because of the glare, but it says they're raised in a stress-free environment where they are grass-fed and treated with care according to our strict standards. They spend their lives as nature intended. Wow, I guess it's the same thing I just said. Roaming outdoors and nurtured with continuous access to fresh green grass and pure water. Wow, I like this already. What else do we got here? All right, so far, good company. I don't know anything else about it. I don't know if they're certified as being grass-fed. Like I said, I don't know of any organizations that really certify being grass-fed. I think it has a lot more to do with the company and what they feel is grass-fed. But that would be a good question to talk to these people about. But so far, are they pasture raised, right? I mean, so we have to make sure they say they are, and sometimes you just have to take them at their word, right? But here again, so we look at this stress-free environment. What does that mean? Grass-fed and treated with care. They spend their lives nature intended roaming outdoors. Okay, so I'm good with it. You know, reading it a couple times. Of course, I always want to talk to the company. If I'm going to be consuming a fair amount of these products and really working with one company, I would like to talk to them. And I haven't talked to this company, but it'd be something good to do. Here again, if you look at this company, it's the same company as one of those other pieces of meat we looked at, Simple Truth Organic. And we found that they seem to be pretty decent. Raised on certified organic pastures. And I don't know what this means. No preservatives, great. No antibiotics, no added hormones. Grass-fed, which is great. How much is grass-fed? And is it, right, a wild pasture, or is it jammed in tight like we might have seen before? No genetically engineered products. This beef used in this product is fed a diet that contains non-genetically engineered ingredients. The USDA organic regulations prohibit the use of genetically engineered feed ingredients. That's great. We have the USDA organic label here. You know, I don't know if this means so much, passed by the Department of Agriculture. Don't know. Let's see if we can look at the back of this label. All right, here again, organic ground beef. Certified organic by Quality Assurance International. It's one of those other companies we already showed you here. In fact, I don't know if we did. But here's their website. And they have great information. And you can even call and they'll talk to you. This website is more so, I would say, geared towards those who are interested in becoming a organic provider. So they show you how to go through it, the application, inspection. And by the way, they have annual inspections on their sites, which is great. It would be great if we're more frequent, but I'll take annual as well. And so that's usually what this site is geared towards. All right, let's look at the next one here. All right, Foster Farms. This is a little bit different. This is called Simply Raised. It's kind of like we just saw the two different varieties of meat. One was an organic, one was. No antibiotics ever, but you know, and they stick by it because I really grill them on it. I said, come on, when a bird gets sick, what do you do? Well, they said, you know, they deal with it in different ways, but they say they don't use antibiotics. No added hormones or steroids, like we talked about down here. Federal regulations prohibit the use of hormones and steroids in chicken. 100% vegetarian feed, that means corn and soy. Doesn't say anything about non-GMO, fresh and natural. So, okay. Yeah, it's all right. It's not what I would buy if I had that choice. All right, here's that same company, and now we look at uncured smoked bacon. No nitrates or nitrites added, which is great. No preservatives, fully cooked. Here, so for example, the little asterisks, except for naturally occurring nitrites in sea salt and cultured celery extract. All right. Federal regulations do not permit the use of hormones in pork. So, you know, they're putting it in there. They're putting the label on there, but it doesn't make any difference anyway, right up in here. Pork never administered antibiotics or animal byproduct. That's something we really haven't talked about before. A lot of animals in the past have been fed animal byproducts. Hopefully they're getting away from that as well. Vegetarian fed diet. Pork raised with vegetarian fed diet. Yeah, you know, I'd probably stay away from this myself. I'm not a real big pork eater. Once in a great while, maybe. I'd want to make sure that it's organic. And here we have cane sugar, so it's really not something I would consume. Hopefully you've learned something to understand a little bit how these animals are raised. It's not a good thing for them that we're eating them, but on the other hand, we are consuming them. I want to make sure that they're raised as natural as possible. I want to make sure that they have a good life, and when they finally give theirs, for me, that it's not causing me toxicity issues or other types of problems. And so a lot of these foods can be inflammatory. You want to make sure you're eating things as close to nature as possible. Hey, and by the way, you can always go over to my website, drcelaya.com, and take a look around. We've got a lot of great information. And for example, the blog is filled full of videos and articles, and it just goes back many, many, many pages. Videos as well, separate videos. You can take a look. And in addition to, you can also get a free consultation. So there's different ways to actually get a free consultation. I'm curious to see if Dr. Celaya can help me, and I want to see if the fit's right. So you're interested in talking to me, but you're not 100% sure if the fit's right or that I can even help you. And so you can click this option here, and it will take you to get a free 15-minute consultation. On the other hand, if you want to get into it right away and you know that we're a good fit and our situation is great for taking care of your problems, you can click here and it'll take you directly to a scheduling option where you can get a consultation. So if you have any questions, you can always email me at info@drcelaya.com. Thanks so much for tuning in.